couple of crackers mixed in here. We had a couple of really good games of the week to look at. So, but before we do all that, as you have all come to know and love, the Good Call, Bad Call segment is back yet again with our man, the Schnarzinator. Not sure about that one. But anyway, take us through.
Nicknames on the fly, I don't mind it.
Take us what you got for us this week, Schnarzy.
Thanks, Blazinator. So, good call, bad call. Given the injuries to George Kittle and Jimmy Garoppolo, the 49ers season is almost all but over.
I would suggest that while people were talking I'm going to call it a good call, don't get me wrong. It was called a Super Bowl hangover a little bit early on in the year. I think at this point you can probably write it off as it's just the war of attrition has got the best of them and they just run out of stock.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree there, Blaze. Yeah. I feel like they'd started to get back on track probably the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then to have 2 or 3 weeks, and then to have all those injuries come in, obviously on the weekend, lose your quarterback for 6 weeks, Kittle for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
It's going to be real. It's a real hard ask now for them to make the playoffs.
Well, you look at they've struggled for consistency in the skill position anyway, and Kittle, is that guy who can just who can make all the difference. And to lose him,
still out as well,
and Samuel's back out again for another couple of weeks. So they're back up against the wall. I'm not sure about who they've got coming up, but I think it's probably fair to say it might be.
The Packers this week, Thursday Night Football.
Yeah,
it might be curtains for them.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, they didn't look too great against the Seahawks anyway.
Yeah.
That first 3 quarters was pretty much trash.
Yep.
Until, the third stringer came in.
Yeah.
Old mate. And
Bertrand?
Nope.
Bertrand?
No, Mullins.
The third.
Oh, Mullins is third now.
Yeah. I think Mullins came in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think Berthard's out.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, this is just shambles down there.
So, it's not looking good in San Francisco. Silicon Valley, watch out.
Yep, that's right.
Next up, good call, bad call. Lamar Jackson's passing game will limit the Ravens from achieving their full potential as a squad of men.
Slammer?
Well, I mean, it is looking a bit that way. I flagged it last week. I did say about how Pittsburgh were going to try and stop that run game and force him into throwing situations there, and I feel like they definitely did that the way they wanted to do it. I don't know. Is it that his passing game is so poor, or is it that other people have caught up to the other stuff, which is making his passing game look worse because you can sort of clog up the box?
That's the thing. If you're going to sell out against the run and force him into it, I think Pittsburgh kind of schemed him into doing that. But I've got concerns about the Ravens in that conference now. Obviously, the Steelers...
Conference or division?
Well, both.
Yeah.
Obviously, the conference in terms of where you want to get at the end of the season. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs have proven on a couple of occasions now that they're probably a step above where they can
they're
get
kryptonite.
to.
Definitely.
And now you've got a defense in Pittsburgh who looks like they've got that. I mean, I know the Ravens still had a fair few rushing yards.
Yeah.
But I think it's that element of Lamar's a perfectly fine thrower, but if you expect him to be great, I think you're running into some roadblocks there.
Yeah, and I think if you're trying to come from behind late as well, I think when you can take away the run game and not let them do it at all because of time restraint, then I think they're in a much worse position.
Yeah. So it's tough times down there at the moment. And
now they're 2 games behind the Steelers in the division, which, as you've just said, that means they're either, if they're going to make the playoffs, which you'd still accept them to make the playoffs, they're going to be the 5, 6, or 7 seed. So they're going to be on the road first week, unless they can pull back 2 games on the Steelers.
Which is going to be tough.
And
they'll have to play the Steelers again in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So I mean, there's backs against the wall stuff for the Ravens there, but I mean, Lamar and the boys down there, they've obviously got good character and they don't mind having the backs against the wall and people doubting them a little bit. But I think there are some real question marks starting to come forward.
And one other man who might agree with this is Hollywood Brown.
Yes. Well, he did.
Very hot on the Twitter on the weekend.
Yeah, he was not impressed.
He got out there and he's, if you've got a Lamborghini in the garage, why don't you take it out for a drive kind of thing? And it's just...
I think his words were, what's the point of having soldiers if you're not going to use them?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Shout out Hollywood Brown. We love you over here.
It like Soldier Boy as well.
Yeah, which is just even better.
Yeah.
We love that little slide in the pop culture reference and whatnot. That's always nice. We appreciate that.
Before we move on from there, this is no shade at Lamar Jackson. We think he's still an unbelievable player.
100%.
However, just all successful quarterbacks in the NFL have been the mold of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. I think he's being found out a little bit.
You're gonna have to.
When you're a bit one-dimensional like that, it can be very hard to work it out on the first year scale, so you can get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh seems really intent on trying to keep playing that way and not advancing his system at all.
Or adapting it, maybe.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some question marks. I think that's the key point. And unfortunately, we said this when they lost to the Chiefs. A lot of these questions can't get answered until the end of the season. In the postseason is when you can silence some of this stuff. And for the time being, they're just gonna have to live in that space.
Late,
yeah, exactly.
They're just not doing
so they're under the pump. They're under the pump.
It's almost become its own segment, the Ravens.
Look, yeah.
Very good. Next one here. Is Davante Adams the best wide receiver in football? Slammer?
I love this call, Schnazzy boy. I think he might just be.
Yeah.
I really think he might be. He is insane. He made a catch on the weekend in the back of the end zone with a defender draped all over him. I'm not even sure he could see the ball when he still caught it. It was insane. At the moment, I reckon, and like based on in form right now, he's the best wide receiver in the game.
Yeah. Well, the other two you would have would be DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas.
Yeah. And
Michael Thomas haven't seen him through 8 weeks of football.
Yeah.
And
D-Hop's been pretty good.
He's been consistent.
Yeah.
But hasn't been as impactful
Not
as
like
Davante Adams.
Not like Davante Adams, no.
There's a factor in there too when, Aaron Rodgers is throwing you the ball. Like Kyler's come a long way and he's looking pretty good, but it's still Aaron Rodgers. And some of those balls that he throws him, like you say, that one that he caught without having a look, there's an element of the ball's going to be there.
He's just always open. It's insane.
Oh, he's fantastic.
It's
Don't
just
get me wrong.
insane.
I think he's definitely making a case for that question, and obviously not seeing Michael Thomas is probably enhancing that kind of statement. Yeah, good call.
It probably helps with the system he's playing in at the moment. Rodgers loves to throw the ball. Not a lot of offensive weapons in the team.
Aaron Jones out at the moment. So
Yeah,
it keeps the floor open for him.
Was that Vantez Sterling?
Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Yeah, don't like him anyway.
Serious name.
No good. But for mine, Slammer, I'd have him up there with your Kamaras, your Dalvin Cooks, and your Derrick Henrys of importance to their side and winning games.
Yeah, you had me confused for a second, but yep, I'm with you now.
Because they were running backs and they're wide receivers.
Did think you were losing the plot there for a second, but that's all right.
Still losing it, but I've still got some left.
Yeah, just maintain it just enough.
Last one. Good call, bad call. The Chargers' fourth quarter performances are becoming a serious concern for Charger fans.
It's got to be. This is a consistent, and we've mentioned this in a couple of weeks before. This is a good call, Schnaz, because this is a systemic problem in that franchise. And now you've got Herbert, who's coming along great guns, and you're still seeing the same cough-ups like you had with old Philly boys. So I don't know. I don't know where they're at there. I mean, Atlanta cop all the flack because they have the big high-profile snuff outs and whatnot. But the Chargers are making a case. They're making a serious case for coughing up the unlosable games. I think, was that the third game this year they've lost when they're up by more than 10 or fourth? Yeah, something like that.
It's not good. I think they can get away with it more because they've got the rookie quarterback and stuff, and they don't obviously have a wide receiver. Keenan Allen's good, but he's probably not as good as Julio Jones. So I think that gets them out of the spotlight. I think the fact for them that they're a fairly small market team, they're clearly the second team in LA at the moment as well. I think they're getting away with a lot of stuff. Because they're not as in the headlines. But yeah, I definitely think it's a cause for concern.
If you sit down and look at the numbers, it's a red alert.
It's not something that's going to be contribute to a great success of this organisation. And it's, as you rightly said, it's becoming almost Falcon-esque.
Yeah, well, it is. It
has rattled them for years.
Well, exactly, and they've struggled to shake off the stink of that Super Bowl, obviously, and it's haunted them ever since. And I think when it comes down to a franchise's consistently coughing up these kind of games, that's when you get really concerned because then everyone on your list thinks, oh, God, they're coming again. Confidence goes down.
They're mentally rattled.
It's flow-on effects all around.
For the Chargers, I think it's just their ball club problem, whereas Atlanta, I think it actually might be a statewide Georgia problem.
Okay.
Like the Braves do it pretty much every year as well.
Yeah, so
I reckon the Bulldogs did it one year as well.
The Hawks haven't been good for a long time.
So you're really breaking it
There's
out.
There's a lot of problems in Georgia, is what I'm saying.
Something in the water.
Professional sports teams in Atlanta, Georgia, not good.
Flat.
Not good.
Their rap game on the other hand.
I was going to say, they did manage to push out Migos and whatnot, which is a favourite of ours. But hey, I think that's a good call, Shnazi. I think it's a real cause for concern. And as long as you've got Herbert there, you'd hope that can turn around with time. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to take
I think the key point there is they do have Herbert there, and he has turned out to exceed everyone's expectations. And I think we'll get into that more when we talk about their game that they actually lost this week.
They did indeed. But I think that's not a bad little transition. Another good segment in the books there, Shnazi. We will get into the games now.
Especially since we were talking about the Falcons there, Blake.
Correct. So we'll tie straight into them.